I am laughing first. Not you almost making me cry by putting my book in the background there. And then now I'm cackling because it's fallen, only to reveal a staring goat.
And I literally I popped on here and then it's why it took me a second to get on here because I just put it back up. And then as I sat, it fell back down.
You have to
So,
open it up when they're narrow like that. Fan the
oh.
pages out to make it have its own stand.
Okay, let me try one sec. Hold on.
Because I've been practicing with other paperbacks. Cute shorts. Yeah, that's what I do to make them stand up. Oh, I was like tearing up when I saw it. I was like, keep it together, Melanie. Also, it's the best promo you could do for for your book and Para's book, because I have to say, after initially being quite startled by the reveal of the cover, now that I have sat with it for quite some time, it is the most iconic cover I've ever seen. Like, it immediately draws your eye because there's just literally a face screaming. We are, of course, talking about The Castle of Horror, Volume 11, Revenge, which contains my story, Severed Cape, in all its glory. Babe, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I put it on mute on accident. My bad. All this movement just had me just discombobulated. Yes, the Castle of Horror. That's how you is that can you say it again? I want to try and mimic your accent.
Castle of Horror.
Castle of Horror?
That was good. You're actually very good at mimicking accents.
Thank you. Well, I've been watching Heartbreak High and it's
Oh
based in
yeah.
Australia. It's a really, really fun show. Yeah.
Yes, it's on my list. So you
Oh, you'd
recommend?
love it. You'd love it. It's so
Yeah.
cheeky and like quirky and funny and like,
Is it like
angsty.
Kath and Kim vibes a bit as well?
Not that ridiculous. There's like fun, funny parts, but
Yeah.
it gets really dark in some parts too, because it's like a
Mm.
teen high school drama,
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's Kath
which we
and
love.
Kim meets Skins. Did
Oh, I don't know if I've
you ever
seen
watch
Skins.
Skins? It was that iconic UK
Ah,
it was also like, dealt with some heavier themes that like it got dark,
yeah.
It was like in its time, it was like the thing.
I might have to try it myself. But no, I'm on the second season. There's only two right now, but the third
Oh,
one's coming. But yeah, the
oh,
characters are fabulous and I'm like, oh, like I'm just such an Australia expert
you
now.
are an Australian expert. Dare I say we're becoming quickly your favorite media?
Yes, yes. All things Australian, all at all times. That's all I want.
No, I definitely want to watch it. Just I'm like right in the middle of a very heavy anime binge, and I like,
Oh.
yeah, I've missed it so much. And so I'm watching something called Jujutsu Kaisen right
I've
now.
heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, which Devona told me to watch ages ago. She was like, "You're gonna love this, rah rah rah." But I was like watching a bunch of other stuff. I was in a different headspace then. I wasn't like in my
Yeah.
anime zone, and I was literally just saying to her yesterday, I was like, "You were right." I fucking love it.
It's funny how you get in different zones. Like sometimes you're just not ready for that show mentally.
100%. And honestly, I'm glad I waited because it's so funny, like how I'm building my tolerance to horror. I didn't think
Uh-huh.
that was possible. Like I am have been historically such an easy scare. Like I have literally been afraid of the dark, like well into my late 30s. But like, I don't know. I feel like as I've like, I don't know, between therapy and like deconstruction of like a lot of my past beliefs, like I've noticed that things that used to like terrify me don't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
some of the themes in that which may have like been felt really intense to me before, I'm like, oh my gosh, they went there and I'm like eating like there's still some scenes that you just like anime just knows how to like fuck shit up and like go to this and there's no limit, right? Because you can draw anything.
Hell
Like I
yes.
feel like with movies and stuff, they kind of have, I mean, these days with CGI and like AI and all that shit, they can also do everything, but it also has to be believable and still watchable. Whereas with
Yeah.
animated art, they do like the most twisted shit. And oh my gosh, if you're gonna watch something, like come watch this with me. Like it's pretty intense for a start anime, but it's also like, you know how we were saying with like Severed Cape, there's like almost like a sense of humor about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel so seen by this series with that because there's like some really like graphic horror stuff, but then it's often done with a touch of like there's a bottom. Like there's this one, spoilers, but there's this one scene where this like this student gets like transformed into this like horrifying beast, and like his ass is just up to the wind, and I was just like, we're not meant to not laugh at that even though this
Yeah.
is horrific.
I love that though. I feel like horror like is so fun about
Yeah.
mixing it up a little bit. I've heard of that show in particular because I think my son has watched it all.
Yeah, it's
Um,
taking the world by storm. It and what they've done, oh, like I got a little chill just thinking about it. Even like my husband is like, we're both hyperfixated on it, but I was like, I do feel like this is one for the boys. Like they're doing like really complex men, like not just, yeah, they're the hero and they're gonna save the day, but there's a lot of scenes where they like freeze up with anxiety or like
mm,
express different emotions than we maybe see traditionally in certain kinds of media. And I'm just like, the way they've
yes.
made them really complex, oh, I cannot rave enough. We could just spend 40 minutes with me raving about this because it's definitely my new obsession. I would go so far as to say like, oh, am I going to say it's as good as Full Metal Alchemist? She's only 6 episodes in, so I don't want to make that kind of claim just yet, but it's really mixing a lot of, I feel like it's a mix between like Full Metal and Natsume Yuji. Well, none of this means anything to you, but it's a mix of a lot of my favorite anime, the vibes.
Yeah.
So please come
So
join us.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
I know. When
Like, would you say this is like inspiring you in your project that you're working on? Like, are
totally.
you feeling like, okay, if they're going there, I want to try and get there too?
Yes, 100%. It's inspiring me indirectly, not because the themes are similar, but the
Right.
horror aspect and the way they tie it in with humor and just everything, 100%. And that's the thing. I think because I'm such a fan of anime, maybe I'm subconsciously always trying to hit the notes that anime
Mm.
hits, which is
Mm-hmm.
like such a merger of, although with like the romance of K-drama. I think the romance of
Mm.
K-drama is something anime is like, I mean, there is romance in, and I would say it's like those kinds of quiet, slow burn romance, but it's
Love.
often not the focus in a lot of anime. But yeah, it's definitely inspiring me to like add that spookier edge. And then Mama Japara recommended this random ass art house film, which I fucking loved, called Triangle of Sadness. And she was like, she kind of prefaced it with like, oh, it's like pretty shit. Like just watch the start to inspire you for like the influencer bit.
Ah, yes.
And but I loved it. I gobbled that random ass shit up because I quite have a soft spot for like quirky, weird art house films as well. So
Yeah.
if it's good, it's good. That's it for me. Like if it
Yeah.
holds that thing of like if it holds my attention, I'm gonna be watching it, you know?
Hell yes. And every single thing, like you can always bring it back to craft and like learn something from it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to stop at this point because it just got boring here. But
Mm.
and even the worst movies, sometimes they keep you
Yeah.
invested and you just keep watching them. I just last night watched Atlas.
Ooh.
It's J-Lo's new movie on Netflix. It's like a
Ooh.
sci-fi movie. And
I want it immediately.
yeah, yeah. Like let me hold on before I go off on the Atlas. Let me just talk about J-Lo for a second. May
Because
I? May I
yes,
just talk
please.
about
I
Jennifer
I
Lopez?
worship J-Lo.
Thank you. Well, see, here's the thing. On I've been seeing on TikTok and many people just in general really
Mm.
don't like Jennifer Lopez.
Really?
They really
Based
don't.
on what?
Just I think she kind of has an attitude. She's a bit of a
Oh,
diva,
okay.
that kind of a thing, which I
Mm.
totally get, and everybody's allowed to feel their ways.
Mm.
about J-Lo. However, I will never turn my back on J-Lo. And here's
Same.
why.
Okay.
When I was young, there was a show called In Living Color. Okay, I'm gonna age myself here, but there was a show I watched. Let's just pretend it was reruns, okay? There was a show I watched called In Living Color, and it was a comedy show, and it was run by the Wayans brothers, who are just like comedic geniuses, but
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
very,
The
yeah, okay,
white
yeah.
chicks got the guys who did White
Yes.
Chicks. I
Yes.
fucking
It was
love that
that. It was
shit.
all those brothers and
Yeah.
their sister. They had this show. And
Yeah.
Jim Carrey was on there. That was like
Wow.
his first start. Yeah. And this is back when he was called James Carrey, not just Jim. But like I loved this comedy sketch show so,
Mm.
so much. And because truly, like growing up, like there was Saturday Night Live, and then there was like Friends or whatever these shows
Yeah.
were, but it was all such a white cast of
Yeah.
characters that I never really like cared. Not that I didn't care, but I
Mm.
didn't, the humor wasn't there for me as if,
Yeah.
but when I watched the Wayans brothers or like Martin or like these other shows,
Mm.
the humor, like I loved them. And so In Living Color was like I would wait and like hope and pray it
Aw.
was on, because we didn't have, like DVRs or whatever. And but they had dancers, and J Lo was one of the dancers between skits.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and I would look at her and I would see her and I'd be like, like there's one of us up there.
Oh,
Even though she's Puerto Rican, but whatever. I was just like, there's one of us. And then
yeah.
she played Selena, and I was like, she's there she is again. And so like I grew up with her as being like my go-to. And so I won't take slander, but I do understand the slander. I do understand
Nah,
it.
come
I do
on. You know
understand.
what? I have a new theory. Everybody's so down on celebrities for being divas. I have a new theory. Like, maybe you reach a point where you're allowed to be a bit of a diva, and surely
Oh
she's
yeah.
earned a little bit of that. And like, like you would have, can you imagine being that famous? How many people would like figuratively swing a dick at you in terms of like
Yes.
wanting something from you, or like
Yeah.
even as much like she would have thousands of people just want a photo with her if she walks down the street. At a point, people start calling them divas just for trying to protect their peace. So like, I
Mm,
don't really know enough about her, but what I know is she's
right.
fucking pro at what she does, which is
She
everything.
works.
And
She does work.
when I see her, my heart fills with joy, And that's so fucking cool that you like grew
Yeah.
up watching that and having like, because yeah, she's super, as you know, she made it into one of my books as an icon.
Yeah, she's an icon. So
Yeah.
I won't take the slander, okay,
No,
listeners? I won't take
protect
it.
J-Lo.
But I feel like also just in general, just as humans,
Mm.
we're so quick to jump on each other for making mistakes.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, thank God I'm not a celebrity.
I
But
mean,
like,
you
well,
almost
sure,
are.
yeah. I mean, I'm totally a celebrity, but like, JLo wishes she was me. But like, I feel like nobody's allowed to be human anymore. They have to be
Mm.
absolutely perfect and say absolutely the perfect things at any given moment. And it's
Right.
not possible. It's absolutely not possible. And I
Mm.
feel like we're so quick to pounce, and it creates this world of just like authenticity. Everybody's,
Yes.
you know, I don't know. I just feel like we should have grace for each other a little bit
Yes.
more, just in human world life situations. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm getting chills because I fucking agree to my cloaca core. Like
Your
I
burning
cannot,
cloaca core.
there's just like people just want to see extremes. They're like, you
Yeah.
are either on this side or you're on this side. But I'm like, what about in between? What about like the growth that happens? And like if you're like immediately, and I think when people are succeeding, people feel like they have a right to pounce on every little thing they do because they put them on this whole other category. But yeah, like
Yeah.
there's this whole journey, and like you say, we're humans, we're not robots. We don't always say the right thing. Like the shit that comes out of my mouth sometimes, and I'm like, oh, why did I say that? I didn't mean that, whatever. And
Yeah.
after you have this moment, you're like, oh, I didn't even, what if they took it this way? There's so much that like we can't like Yeah, we're just navigating life the best we can sometimes. And I think I always come back to energy doesn't lie. Two
Yeah.
people can tell you to fuck off. One person can be like the avoid person that you never want to meet again. There's prickle behind the words. But guess what? My best friends, my husband tell me to fuck off all the time, and it's our love language, like, oh,
Yes.
oh, fuck off, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I could not say I love you in deeper tones if I'm telling you to fuck off and you're my friend. Yeah. Like, because there's the good energy, the weight of like something that there's just no wrong that you can do in that. And it's a basically a term of endearment, okay?
We love it. We love it. Yeah, I know Australians very well, and they love to just curse you out as a term of endearment.
Yes,
I'm learning
exactly.
this, and I love it. Okay, but back to J-Lo.
Yes, please.
So,
No, I love it.
I was watching the movie I watched.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's called Atlas on Netflix, and again, I'm not okay with JLo slander. However, the movie was not great. Okay,
Yeah.
but there was enough happening that it
Mm,
kept me watching the entire time, and I thought, oh, okay, this is how you keep a reader invested because every single time, we get to like a plateau of like, oh, okay, this problem has been solved. Then something bigger
mm,
happened, and now she's got to figure out this whole new thing. And so
yeah,
every single time it was just building and building and building. I thought, oh, that's what I got to do. I got to keep
yeah.
building those moments of like, oh shit, like now here's this thing coming at me and I have to solve this problem.
Yes,
So yeah,
I
but
agree
that's
though.
where I was just watching it. Everybody fell asleep, but I was watching. And I was just sitting there taking notes, like, yeah, okay, that's how you do it. And
Yeah,
so anyway.
but
Did you
sometimes
see
like
Arcane?
I fucking love Arcane.
Okay, good. Because let me
Oh,
just
you
tell you this
watched
as
that,
well.
did you?
Oh my God, I
Hey,
love
that's a
Arcane.
gateway drug to the rest of anime. If you
Dude,
loved that, I
Arcane.
am just when you're ready, I am here with all the best anime recs.
Mama is ready.
Yeah.
No, so Arcane is so fucking good. And
Mm,
the just the art, right?
the
So I
art. Oh,
just finished reading Laini Taylor's Daughter of Smoke and Bone,
oh my
right?
gosh,
Is
you're
that what it's called, right?
consuming all the best shit right now.
I'm on fire.
You are.
I was thinking, I was thinking that whoever the creators of Arcane are, they need to adapt that book. Am I right or am I right?
I you just exploded my brain with how much I want that.
Right?
That would be everything. I can't believe her books are not movies yet. I'm not gonna
We don't
lie.
want movies. We want
We want
animes.
animes. Fuck
Yes.
yes. You're
Okay, that
so
was it.
right because okay, and here's the thing about anime. They keep the stakes you do get filler episodes. I don't know if you've met filler episodes yet. They're basically just there to tie you over till they write the real stuff. It's a whole thing.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So like especially with something as big as like One Piece, there's whole fucking like 10 episodes of filler arc where they go on an island and have some side quest. But aside from filler arcs, the actual animes themselves, they have that high stakes through the whole thing
Hmm.
without like a movie would. So yes, we need but the thing is, it gives you time to fully investigate the story because I agree with you. We don't want movies of that. We want to see everything. We want all the details. We want all the
Yeah.
little side moments because she's such a great writer. I don't know. Are we big and bad enough to get her on yet? Let's just keep it
Dude,
going.
I feel like I emailed her agent at some point and didn't hear back.
That was
But maybe I'll
before
try.
you were the Yell West SmackDown champion.
That's true. That is true. I'll just lead with that. I'll lead with a
Yes.
picture of me on the stage. God, she's so good.
Yeah.
Her
And
writing.
she's struggled with, honestly, she's such a big inspiration to me for so many reasons because her writing is so beautiful, yes. But if you actually like follow her for any length of time, you'll realize how much she struggles with writing. Like writing doesn't
Really?
come easily to her. She has to really like sit with her words for ages until it feels perfect to her. And yeah, she's posted a lot about her imposter syndrome and like her struggle with writing. which is so hard to
Wow.
believe when you read that and see like how masterful it is. But then it also makes sense. You know, the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
most
Yeah.
brilliant minds struggle the most. Let's be real.
For real. No, I mean that's very encouraging too, to know
Yeah.
that like even someone that you're reading their words,
Mm,
thinking, damn, like there's no, you can't get better than this. It's
yes.
so well done. But knowing that behind the scenes there was
Oh, she
blood, sweat, and
suffered.
turmoil.
Yeah.
And I think that's like very encouraging, because especially
Mm.
when you're like starting your first drafts
Oh
and
my gosh, yes.
you're just laboring through.
How are you feeling with what you're working on now? I
I
feel
was
like
gonna
there's some
segue.
weight to those words.
Yeah. 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 That's
But
why I was so encouraged by that.
but don't
Um,
even let that like first of all, like I want to hear everything, but you are watching peak anime, reading peak books that have undergone a million revisions by a million people. Don't you dare compare first draft to that in case it
right.
was discouraging to you. Just and now I want to hear everything.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's encouraging to hear. It's encouraging to be reminded.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I am almost at 50,000 words, which is really fun.
Just get off the show. Cancel her immediately.
Yeah, there went all our talk about Grace. You're out. You're done.
That's
Yeah, like
fucking incredible, my
it's fun,
friend.
but it's because I did the work before with my outline.
Yes. You know, I'm
And
just taking
so,
the piss. I could
oh no,
not
no,
be
of course
happier.
I would be upset if you didn't take the piss. I would be like, wait, why isn't she
Is
making fun
she
of me right now?
even really happy for me if she's not taking the piss?
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, is something wrong, Melanie? What's
I
happening?
still, the old people pleaser in me still feels guilty. That's why I have to preface
No,
it.
I was laughing at you today because oh, because
I know.
so we do you know? So
Yeah,
I
I
sent
know. I felt stupid immediately after. It's still a trauma I'm working through.
okay,
Being
well let
misunderstood.
me tell
Yeah.
our listeners, and maybe we're talking about the different things, but
No,
I
we're not.
sent a troll. Okay, we are. I sent a leprechaun gif, and the leprechaun from like Leprechaun in the Hood, like he's like this nasty looking leprechaun, and then she sent me a cute kitty, saying like top of the morning to you or something.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, oh, that's exactly how I imagine you. And then you said, oh, the troll is how I imagine you. And then you put JK. And I thought,
No,
yeah,
I felt so stupid as soon as I did it because I was like, I already know she knows I'm joking, but just because of honestly, that's like something I'm really working through right now. Like realizing how much trauma I have from toxic friendships that I still, even with a good friend, felt like I had to make sure you knew I was joking. And after I sent it, I cackled to myself. I was like, oh, there's your trauma popping up. You didn't need to say
oh,
that with this friend. But
oh
yeah,
my
it's
God.
literally like something we're working through. Apparently, I didn't realize how much it had like affected me into adulthood still to like having grown up and had, oh man, I had this one friend from primary school to early high school. She was a tyrant. She like ruled her own little kingdom and she would like pitch you against the other friends and like
Oh.
somehow abuse your kind nature into like and you never knew what you did wrong. You never knew. There was just
Mm.
like, but then she'd ignore you for weeks after lavishing you with attention. So you're like, fuck,
Ooh.
I need to get that back. What have I done wrong? As a kid, you don't know how to deprogram that. So yeah, I'm working through it as an
Working
adult.
through it. Yes, yes. And you can use that for the next project or the
Yes.
project,
I
right?
cannot wait to put that like toxic friendship thread into a book. I'm just like waiting for the right inspiration because I really do want to. I've like experienced quite a lot of that in my childhood.
Yeah.
So I really want to write in this one I'm working on now. I'm definitely writing people pleaser themes into it and like the deconstruction of that. But yeah.
Working through it. We're working through all of
We're
our
working.
traumas and issues. Yes. Yes, we
Anyway, I don't
are.
know what you were saying that led us on this side quest, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about, I don't know how we
Oh,
got there, but
your book,
yeah, 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 yeah.
150,000 words.
I am. And oh, and
And I dissed
you
you.
snapped at me. You snapped at me and I was really hurt.
I took your tiara and I threw it asunder.
Yes, yes, you did. No, okay, so I hit, I'm not quite there at 50K, but I'm very close. I'm like at
Yeah.
47K. And I really like it. And I think it's really, really gonna be like a really cool story because I already know, like I'm already adding little tidbits that I know is gonna make it to the end, you know?
Mm.
But because it's this first draft, like
Mm.
sometimes I feel like I'm slogging through it, like, oh, I just want to get finished so I can go back and like
Yeah.
really dig deep. So, but I am reminding myself, this is the first draft, baby.
Yes.
We're okay.
100%. It's hard to remind yourself. I'm finding it really hard not to go back and polish what I'm writing. And sometimes it's helpful, like a single quick read gets me back in the what I just wrote the day before. I tend to read over it to get me back in the zone to write what I'm gonna write. But if I
Mm,
actually get bogged down and start to try change it too much, then you've wasted a day of writing, fixing something that might be deleted later. That's what I'm really like. I know I've always heard that advice. Don't edit as you write. I've heard it so many times. But honestly, this is probably the first time I'm really feeling the weight of how fast I can go if I stop letting the edits hold me down. Because I think,
yeah.
yeah, I have had a tendency to obsess and try go back and get it perfect. But I'm trying so hard this time to just like it's readable, keep going and just kind of blast through while I'm so hyper fixated with this project and it's just coming to me naturally what I want to do. So
Amazing. So
yeah.
how is everything? Like where are we at in project land?
We're nearly at the end
We're
of chapter.
excited.
We are fucking litty as a titty. Like, I have not been this excited about a
Wait,
project.
hold on, stop. Hold on, stop.
I knew you'd like that one.
I'm gonna use that every day of my life for Lydia's a titty.
Litty as a titty.
Love that. Okay, go on. Sorry. Continue.
It's like the exuberant form of lit.
You didn't have to explain. I understood.
I'm sorry, I'm such an over-explainer.
I figured what Lydia as a titty is.
It's kind of self-explanatory, right?
Yeah. Oh, so you're Lydia as a titty.
I'm litty as a titty for
Lydia as a
this project because it's like the most excited I've been. I haven't felt this like super rush for a project in so long. I've been in the dark lands of Mordor of writing for so long, and it is just the best feeling to come out of that and just be on fire for this. So
hell yes.
I've almost finished completely gutting and revising the first two chapters.
Wow.
Yeah, I would like to be further along, but like
Hell no.
it's like I think it's probably just the perfect pace. I'm working on it every day. It's coming to me naturally. But if I could just like not sleep and just like, but I would never do
Right.
that to myself now. But if I could just write the whole thing in one sitting, I would without like damage to my health. But obviously that's not possible. So pacing myself and yeah.
Yeah. Pacing, that is maturity at its finest. Is like we've got to learn to pace
Yeah,
ourselves if we want to keep going. It's
that's
the
it.
only way. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I think we were going so hard for so long and like
Mm,
constantly doing like NaNoWriMo style freaking
yeah.
work, but it's not for the long term.
Ironically,
Sometimes you
even
have to, obviously, but
yeah, but ironically, even without that, we think we're going slow, but you already have almost a full book drafted, and I've like revised my whole intro. So we're still like I think we're still super fast. We're just super hard on ourselves.
yes,
You know?
yeah, that's probably exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
But like
Yeah.
it is that maturity of like trying to balance it, feed myself, do my yoga. But I am like, yeah, just letting myself stay in this hyperfixated place with it and trying to feed it as much as possible and just blast it out. Honestly,
Mhm.
I would like to have it done and start re-querying it like within the next couple months. I'm just going to put that
Oh
out there.
yeah.
It's like a
Hell
tight
yes.
deadline, but I think right now I've still got a while before I have to work on that Gobsmacked. My deadline for that is the end of the year. So I kind of
Oh,
just want to
okay.
blast this out. So we'll see. We will
Heck
see.
yes. Yes. My goal is to have the first draft
Mm.
finished by June 15th.
Ooh,
I
okay.
don't
I
know
love that.
why. I don't know why that's my goal.
Maybe
It
it's
just
like a auspicious moon time or something.
oh, maybe my witchy senses are feeling something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to like finish the first draft.
Yeah.
She's not a zero draft, but
No,
she's a, she's there.
she's
Okay.
there.
But I'd like to have it because
Mm,
let's say if there was somebody I had to turn this into, the date would be like September 1st. So
mm.
I want to have time. I wanted to have time to get it, sink
Polished.
my claws in. Yeah.
I like that date. I wonder if it would be too ambitious of me to try like revise this by then. I mean, it
Ooh.
sounds wild. If I could just like push through and not edit at all, I think I could do it.
Yeah,
Let's
nope,
try.
we're not editing. We're not
We're not
editing.
editing
Fine.
because I'm able to keep a lot, which is cool. But then there's other parts that completely need reworking. So we'll see. I love
Yeah.
giving myself these shocking, inspiring deadlines, but then I never give a chokehold about it. I'm like, if it
Yes.
doesn't feel good, I'll let go of it immediately. But I also love to try do the audacious thing and write this and revise this in a couple weeks.
Heck
Let's
yeah.
try.
Yeah.
I'm going to
We're
catch up to
trying.
you.
I hope you do. I hope you do. My goal is to do like one chapter
Mm,
a day for sure. And then if I
yes.
have like the extra energy, I'm gonna go for another chapter,
A
if that
chapter's
makes sense.
major. A chapter is
Yeah,
major. Yeah. I'm so
we're trying.
impressed. And like, I mean, you better write fast because, uh, all of us people need another Montoya on the shelves to join this glorious one here.
Yes, yes, more and more.
Speaking
We'll
of
see.
glorious books, can we just for a moment shout out our Mama Japara who has the Kinsey Project out today, the
Yes.
best book ever.
Dude, I love this book. It literally feels like a hug. It's like
Yeah.
this nostalgic,
Yeah.
just sweet, perfect story. Yeah. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Jessica Parra. We're gonna have her on next week.
Yeah. I can't
So
wait. It
yeah,
feels like
I know.
forever since we had her on, so I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah. She's in the three timer club along with
Yeah.
Katya.
Yeah,
She's in
true.
our three timer. We should get our three timers something special.
We should.
Yeah.
Like maybe a shirt?
Yeah, maybe a shirt.
Maybe the Cloaca Queens shirt.
Oh,
We
yeah,
should.
I
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
the three-time Cloaca Club.
Yes. Yes. Oh, you should just add their face onto one of our shirts with us.
I fucking love that. Or
Yeah.
superimpose them over the top of us like the gods that they are. It's so funny because I
Oh,
accidentally started calling Katya God Katya as a nickname. I don't know when it happened, but at some point I was
feels
like,
right.
yeah, instead of Queen. I was like, yes, God Katya. And now I just keep calling her God Katya in my head. So it kind of works. And our founding father, she could be over us as well. They're guys.
Yes. Yeah.
This is why I love you. You're so on board with my most like.
I'm here for it. And I think that Katya and Jessica Parra would be happy with that as well.
I'm
So
gonna
they're
have
on
to do
board.
it now if I leave
Yeah,
this
I'm speaking
party.
for them. They're on board.
Yes. We should probably read the bio of
Yes.
our amazing guest today.
Heck yeah. Yeah. So you want me to read the bio because I got it
Oh,
up?
you're so up today. I did the
I am
last
on
three.
fire. No. Did
Yeah,
you?
I
Oh
did at
shit.
least two. The last two. You're up.
Oh dang. Wow. Well, I am so lucky because TJ's bio is rather short. So thank you, TJ. Shout out. I
Dang it.
appreciate TJ Alexander is a critically acclaimed author who writes about queer love. Originally from Florida, they received their MA in writing and publishing from Emerson College in Boston. They live in New York City with their wife and various houseplants.
Yes. The bio does
Wow,
not
I
do
did that.
justice. Yeah, you did it. I'm not giving you a medal for that two sentence bio.
Damn it.
The bio doesn't do justice to how hilarious TJ is. I feel
Yeah.
like yeah. So
No, we
much
were
fun.
we were cackling most of the episode at all the things TJ had to say. So they were great.
Yes.
Bye.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
hello.
Hello, TJ. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is so great.
Oh my gosh. No, we are honored because I love your books. I love the vibe. I'm
Hooray.
excited.
And I love
Yes.
your background. The spots are serving.
Thank you. That's the one and only curtain I ever sewed in my life. Um,
You made it.
Wow.
I did make it. Sewing a straight line is very hard. Maybe that's just me,
No,
but
that's the hardest.
extremely
Yeah.
homophobic of sewing machines to be so loud, fast, and scary. I don't like it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. No, sewing is, I went through a phase where I tried,
Mm,
and that phase lasted maybe 15 minutes. That was it.
yeah.
I can't
This-
see you sewing, Montoya.
No. Yeah. It takes this like special patience
Mm.
and dexterity.
Yeah,
And
don't have it.
it's scary, but you did great with the curtain.
Thank
You
Yeah.
really did. Well, let's get right into it, and we're just gonna get into the hard-hitting questions, the questions we love. It feels like we really get to know our guests with these questions. So
Yeah, let's do
hopefully this doesn't scare you too much. The first one is, what
You're
is the
probably
strangest-
terrifying
Yeah.
our guests opening like that. I literally feel our guests start to sweat when you say it like that. It's
Yeah. Be prepared. This is going to
Okay.
be really hard.
Okay.
What is the strangest thing you own?
Ooh, probably a number 10 jar of capers. If you've never worked in the restaurant industry in America, a number 10 can or jar is like the giant size industrial kind of like too much of one thing, but like for a restaurant, just enough of one thing. And I got that as a like congratulation gift from my parents when I signed my first when I signed with my agent. Because I had been complaining that very same week about how expensive capers are. Like you get a little tiny jar, like
Yes.
tiny little cento jar, like $6.99 in New York City. Come on. How do you make your chicken piccata with like, and then anyway, so I've been complaining about that. And when I signed with my agent, my mom FedExed me a comically large jar from like BJ's Warehouse Club of capers, and it's sitting on the bookshelf in our foyer. So that's probably the weirdest thing that
I
own.
love that it's in the foyer. Like it's
Yeah.
not, it's you aren't you're not eating the capers. You're just, it's
No.
decoration.
It's got to be on display because as soon as you open up that giant jar of capers, you got to use them all up in like what, like a month? There's no way. No single human being can eat that many capers in a month. I'd have to donate them to charity, and I don't know if I want to be responsible for other people's sodium levels like that. It's just not a good look.
Or I guess you could like freeze them in little baggies, but I immediately feel ill just thinking about that.
Just tiny bags of frozen
Single serve caper.
little popsicles of little caper pops.
Yes, you can give them away. Like anytime you have guests over, just caper pops.
It's like a salt lick, but a little fancier. That's an idea. That's definitely an idea. But it's been there for so long at this point. I would hate to lose it. I would have to find something to take its place, and what could possibly,
Oh my gosh.
No.
Those are my favorite things. Like tech kind of like almost mundane, but not really. It's this giant jar of things
Yeah.
that like take on like a special treasured meaning because it's just so like and your parents are the best.
Thank you. They seem to think so. They think they're very funny. I opened up that box and I was like, oh, this is where I get my really silly sense of humor from, my gag gift sense of humor.
Mm.
Those are my favorite though. Like,
Yeah.
and it also has meaning to it. So it's the perfect gift. And it has to be worth at least $50, this jar.
I mean, a BJ's, members, maybe 25. I can't imagine my parents spending more than $25 on a gag gift, honestly.
Mm.
Like if they saw it and it was like $50, they'd be like, nah, it's not, the bit's not worth it. It's not worth 50. I'd do 30, maybe 30.
I
here for
love
this.
it. Well, now I'm
Yeah.
really excited to hear our next question. What's something you think about way too often?
Ooh, well, I'm the kind of person who goes around and around through like cycles of, some people call it hyperfixations. I prefer to call it hobbies. My current thing that I'm thinking about a lot is Regency era real estate. And that's kind of all I can say about that. I'm just like, I'm doing a lot of research. I'm looking up things. It's really hard to find like the exact fact that you need sometimes. So I'm thinking a lot about like, I don't know, just how people are supposed to be living now and in certain other eras. That's probably a weird answer to that question, huh?
No, not at all. I immediately
just-
thought of
yeah.
a fact I read something about back in the times, like these secret underground societies and everything. Like, it sounds amazing.
Ooh, I love a
It
secret
sounds,
society.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a secret society. And just learning real estate facts in the Regency era is just, it's sending me like, it's making me so happy. It's such a very like random thing to think about. But I mean, anytime you go on a vacation or like you're anywhere, we look on Zillow or what, like
Hell
I wonder
yeah.
what this is. So to take it back to the Regency era, like I'm here for this. I'd like to know. I'd like to know.
Regency era Zillow would be wild. I would die if I could find some kind of like, I did find a really interesting, like an old timey like article or broadsheet that had been printed in like a 1910 or 1810 magazine of some kind that was giving newcomers to London like tips on how to rent an apartment. And it was so similar to how like, tips are being given out to people who like rent apartments in New York City in modern times. One of the tips was like, if you're renting an apartment, try and get a furnished apartment, because unfurnished apartments are really trashy, because like the landlord isn't going to care about like the state that other people have left it in, right? Like, because their stuff isn't in it. So like there were all these like little tips and tricks of how to get like more bang for your buck. Like, you don't have to live on the most like Tony Street. You could live on like a block away from the Tony Street and save a lot of money, but like still be like near the, anyway, I'm just, that's what I'm
I
into
love
right
it.
now.
At least it was like for the people. It sounds like the rules and like stuff was like helping. Unlike I've read some, like the other day I saw a meme and it wasn't a meme. It was like the rules for teachers back in like 18 something. It wasn't even that long ago. And it was literally like, I think a female teacher could not take a partner. And even the male teachers were only allowed to like promenade or whatever once a week or something. There's all these bizarre rules. They had to keep their pencils sharpened to a certain point. And after a day of teaching, they had to like read the Bible and like a limited selection of other books, and that's what they're supposed to do. I was like, damn, who was picking this job back then?
Women who were just like, I guess I'm single, but making money.
They're thriving. They're,
Yeah.
you know what? They're like, oh, I will read the Bible, just me and my cats. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I'll
We're
read the
happy.
Bible of an evening, I guess, relaxing with my Bible and nothing else. Amazing.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk about all of these fun facts for hours and hours, but I love these sort of things. And it's fun because being writers, like our brains are constantly like searching and doing research. And, I think for many of us, we were just doing that anyways before we were writers. We're just nosy little beings. And did you know you always wanted to be a writer? Like, was your brain always out there doing things?
Yes, I was the kind of kid who would be perfectly happy with like a quiet hour in a car where I could stare out the window and like imagine, like I was like, ooh, an hour in the car in the back seat staring out the window. Good. I can pick up where I left off on my last daydream. Like
I
I would
love
like
that.
bookmark my daydreams and be like, ooh, that's good. I'll come back to you later. Like, so
Aw.
I always had like a kind of head in the clouds sensibility, I guess. And I was always like writing little stories for myself or my friends. But I never thought about taking it seriously as a potential career until very recently when it happened.
Yeah. Well, what got you like started writing like an actual novel? Maybe.
I had this idea for my first book, Chef's Kiss, which came out in 2021, two. Oh man, time, years, numbers, who knows? I think it was 2022. Yeah. I had started like thinking about that book towards like the beginning of 2020. Like it had been like my New Year's resolution in 2020 to like finally I'm going to sit down and write from start to finish a full-length novel. And then I didn't. And then the pandemic happened. And I was, stuck at home and thinking, well, I have all this free time now that I need to fill somehow. I may as well like hyper focus on this and get it done while I have time. So I wrote that super quickly in like 6 or 7 weeks,
Yeah.
which will never happen again. That was a one-time experience that was super interesting. And once I was done, I was like, cleaning it up, showing it to friends and things, and getting all this feedback that's like, this could be something. This could be like an actual book. So I was very excited. And then, like, I just went with it, and here we are.
So that's amazing. So Chef's Kiss was the first book that started it all
Yeah.
officially from start to finish. Now, okay, so you finished the book, you've had friends reading it. How did you just hop into the query trenches? How did we get from we wrote the book to now it's published?
I had worked in publishing very briefly at a certain point in my life, and I had studied it in college. So I had, I think, a better than average understanding of how publishing worked, although I had worked in more of like the marketing and publicity side. So I was like, okay, I know vaguely how editorial works and how the agenting process works. So like let's just like, for fun, because we're not going anywhere anyway. Let's just see what you're supposed to do. And I mean, I'm sure you two know, like you get on the internet and there's all this advice, a lot of it conflicting. And like I think in a lot of ways purposefully confusing. And you're just like, oh, okay, like I get it. This is kind of like I started thinking of it as like studying for the SAT. Like to pass that test, you had to learn certain skills just for that test, right? It wasn't about how good of a writer I was or how good my book was, although that was a little part of it, obviously. But like it was more about like, can we figure out how this system works and how to write a query letter in a way that's going to like get through all the noise in people's inboxes. And I'm sure like a lot of people, I made a few mistakes, I made a few missteps, but in the end, I think I kind of nailed it. And I was really glad to have that background in marketing and publicity to be like, okay, I can write copy. Like I also can write a book, but I can definitely write copy. And like that's what basically my query letter ended up being, was like the back copy of the book once it was published.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very glad to have had that sort of background knowledge that made things a little less intimidating, but also like it was still very intimidating.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the internet is like best friend, worst enemy, because yes, there's this wealth of knowledge, but like I feel like half the drama of sorting through this is sorting through like all the misinformation and rabbit warrens. And a lot of times, especially when you're I don't know if you both feel the same, but like there's a lot of like people that talk very loudly and confidently about like how to like do this. And I feel like at this point, anyone who's like actually giving information that sounds anything like how to get published quick or how to get like an agent, the best, and I'm just like, walk away. It's probably a scam, most likely a scam. And like, but when you're fresh, you're like, oh, wow, they sound like they know what they're doing. And you follow all these like, dead ends. And yeah, part of it is just like sifting through that. Is it like the same for you both?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like and it's like time is the only way I feel like of really learning. And it's like you learn through your mistakes all the time and through other people's mistakes, which is we like when they make the mistakes so we can just learn from them and not have to deal with the pain. But yeah, I feel like there's so many I've seen like pop up on TikTok in particular, like those get published quick or get, like let me tell you all of these tips to do. And yeah, and so sometimes it does feel pretty scammy and with certain like creators. And I just like block. As soon as I see like that bad actor, I'm like, nope, block.
Yeah,
block.
and they're always charging like $1,000 for their course, which like if you actually do it, it's like 2 pages of like information you could find on Google. So writers be warned.
Yes. Anyone who's like one quick trick to get you in the door, like that's not, it's not going to work. It's not, there is no magic bullet. There's just like a lot of slogging through information and manuscript wish lists and making spreadsheets and getting a lot of rejections and like, until you get like finally some yeses,
Hell yes. Yeah. Well, just the rejections alone, I feel like are like the armor. It just builds it builds character. We hate it when it happens, but it really does. Is there anything about like publishing the industry or just at large that has surprised you?
I guess I was surprised, although maybe I shouldn't have been, about like how supportive other authors can be, right? Like a lot of the time it feels like, oh, there's so little glory and so little opportunity out there, and we're all fighting like rats, like trying to get our piece of it. But like when you kind of like stop and just like look at like, okay, here's where I'm at in my career now, which is still very early. And here are like already some like amazing people that I found who like just want to help once they meet you, as long as you're like a nice, decent person who also has that attitude, I think you'll attract those people as well. But if you have this attitude that like, oh, there's scarcity and I have to fight everyone, then you're gonna like that's going to become its own self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So like very quickly I saw that like, oh, everyone's actually like super nice and like kind when you let them be. Just sort of the whole process of writing can be so lonely and isolating that it's just, I think, natural that, at least the authors I know, maybe I'm just personally very lucky, are just so giving and like kind with their time. And like, do you need a blurb? Do you need an introduction? Do you need someone to look at this? Like, and that's just, I think, something that people don't talk about enough because there is so much of that, like, fear mongering about how you have to like look out for yourself and you have to do these things to concentrate on yourself. But like bigger picture, you really need to be like also like helping other people like who come behind you, like you got to be holding a door.
Yes.
Hell yes.
I felt all of that in my deep inner soul because I so agree with that. And having like at the start encountered the scarcity mindset people, like I so agree with you. Like if you actually find the other type, it's like they want you to succeed. And if it's feeling like your friend isn't happy for you, they're probably not. Walk away, find a new CP, find new beta readers. Like do it now before they turn on you because
Yeah.
that's such a real thing. It's like it's just as bad as the misinformation, like the rabbit warrens of yeah, like you can really hoard that scarcity mindset and it turns you into like a bitter person who thinks there's no opportunity. Or you can all support each other and like it's like the best win is with your friends at the top, you know, all together, you know.
Exactly. And not that it's not completely valid to sometimes feel jealous, right? You see
Yeah.
like a friend or a colleague like hitting a milestone that you haven't yet, or getting to do something really cool that you haven't yet. And you're like, oh, not me, them, not me. Oh, but like, it's okay to feel that, but also at the same time, for me, I've gotten to the point where I have to realize that at the same time, if I'm feeling that way, to remember like there's probably stuff that I'm getting to do and stuff that's like coming to me that like other people are looking at and feeling very like left out because of. Like there's so many different ways to find success for us. There's so many cool things that we're able to do as authors. There's not like a finite amount of success that we're all trying to get a little bite out of. There's like plenty to go around. There's plenty of awards. There's plenty of milestones. There's plenty of book deals. Like well, there's not plenty of book deals, but you know what I mean?
We're manifesting that. We're manifesting that right now.
Imagine a world where there's just, as far as the eye can see, contracts waiting for your signature.
Yes.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm
I
manifesting
love
it.
this chat so much. Something that really helped me deal with that, like, because you're right, it's a very human feeling. Something that really helped me deal with it was like remembering that when I'm winning, how desperately I want my friends to be winning too. And it kind of
Yeah.
canceled out any like whatever, like jealousy or whatever you're feeling. Because I'm like, but when it's actually happening to you, you so badly want it to happen for your friends. And then that kind of always helps me manage the feeling of like wanting or whatever. It kind of like somehow equalizes it. I don't know.
Yeah. Totally.
No, I love this conversation because especially on this podcast, like community is the thing for us, and it's been like a lifesaver in so many ways. Of writing is that solitary act. You're hunched over, you're slogging through the words. Yeah, you're like little gremlins, but and it's so easy to kind of get stuck there. But when you reach out to your community and somebody can just send you a meme and give you a smile, whatever it is, and it just boosts your whole day and your mood, and you're just like, okay, I can keep going. Because sometimes writing is rather hard sometimes, and so we need that like community boost. And but I just think of every time somebody posts like, oh, they're like an announcement of their book deal or their agent or all these different things, like I always just sit back and think like, oh, I remember how that felt and how excited I was that day. And so anytime I see them, I always try to like boost it or comment or send something, because it's just like, yes, like you just remember those good feelings and like, go, yes, go friend. And it's just, I love it. And those sort of like good vibes that the writing community has is so special. And then we also have the bad players, and we pretend they're not there and we don't talk to them. It's fine.
Oh, that's what you do? I gossip about them.
Oh, yeah. I call it how it is. Yes.
I wait for that safe space, two drinks in, and then you're just like, do you want to hear some real Can I curse on this podcast? I guess I
Yes.
should.
Yes.
Do you want to hear some real shit? And then you just start talking. And like, intimacy is built by sharing information and secrets. And as a community, we need to let people know when bad actors with bad behavior are out there, and just like let people know, like, hey, be careful about XYZ,
I 100% Yes, agree with this. And I think we've really been like taught that gossip is this really evil thing. And I think in its worst form, yeah, sure it is. But like when you have a, like you said, a safe space, a community that you trust, it's not even just gossip. It's like sharing this information, like, oh my gosh, did you experience? Yeah, like, oh my, they're like horrible, whatever. Like they said this. And you kind of need it to like grow and and watch out for like red flags.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think every industry could benefit with just a little bit more, of a gossip economy. Like just people just not necessarily being like, you know what I think, or you know what my theory is. Like, I don't want to hear your weird, unsubstantiated theories. I want to hear stories. I want to hear facts. I want to hear what was said, and or done.
Ah, yes. I think we need to start a group chat, and just so you can spill the tea, because we need all the tea at all times, safely.
Yes.
Safely.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's the only, I mean, like you said, gossip can be great because in so many ways we've seen, this last few months, like bad authors kind of being exposed, and for all the right reasons.
True.
And so, yeah, had there not been some transparency amongst all of us, we would have never known. And
Yeah.
so,
And thank God for the people who really put in like the investigative work into this kind of thing, like when I see like a call out post that's just like, I want to say this about this, and then with no like nothing, you haven't linked me to a document of any kind, like please show your work. And then when you do, I'm like, oh yes, Columbo, like you're giving it to me. You're giving me every single piece of information that is necessary to complete this investigation.
Dude, some of them are amazing. Like the investigative work some people have done boggles my mind. I'm like, okay, yes, you are an author. Like you've been doing the research here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah. Like if you weren't an author, I'd be like, maybe solve some cold cases. I don't know. Like
right. Like 60 screenshots of receipts for us to sift through.
Yeah. And we all do. We all do. When we see those things, we're all there, just like, oh my gosh, reading it. Yeah. Okay. I feel it. I'm here for this. I love it. Well, okay. I see at my investigative eyes, see a fabulous book cover behind you.
Yes.
And I want to hear so much more about Triple Sec because, for one, the cover is so fun. It's so alluring. So can you tell our listeners what your book is about? This is your third book, right?
My fourth book.
Your fourth.
Yes.
Shit.
I know. It's been a wild ride. Yeah, so Triple Sec, weirdly, is my fourth book. It is a queer rom-com starring a woman named Mel. She's a jaded bartender working in the high-class New York City cocktail scene. But she's like sort of recently divorced. She's just like not looking for love and romance. She's thinking it's not in the cards for me. And then obviously this beautiful woman walks into her bar one night and they like immediately hit it off, and there's like sparks, sparks, sparks. But it turns out this woman is married, womp womp, except we all live in a world where polyamory exists. And Mel embarks on this sort of funny, sort of like, I think, and in some ways charming journey of getting into a relationship, not just with this woman, Bibi, but also her wife, Cade, who's non-binary. And they all end up in this relationship between and among each other that I hope people find very satisfying. There's also a lot of cocktails.
Yes, all the cocktails. Can you tell us a bit what inspired you to write it?
Well, I needed to pitch a book for the second part of my 2-book contract. I needed to come up with something. And I was like, the deadline is approaching. I need something to show my editor. And some friends of mine were like, why not a threesome? Why not why not 3 people instead of 2? And I was like, they're never going to go for that. that's just too out there for traditional publishing because it's not really something you see a lot of in the romance space, in traditional publishing. Um, but I was like, well, if they say no, at least it'll buy me some time to think of something else. So I wrote up the pitch, and as I was writing it, I was like, what else can I do? Cocktails. People are into that. Like I love a G&T. So like I just started throwing in all these things that I personally liked until finally towards the end I was like, oh man, I really hope I get to write this book someday. Like this sounds really fun. And then like it was the fastest yes I've ever gotten in
Amazing.
publishing. It was just like no time at all had passed before the team at Atria was like, yes, 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 let's do it. Let's just go for it. And they were like so gung ho to, you know, have this like kind of unusual, I think, love story out there, which was really cool. So yeah.
Yes.
I just love cocktails. I grew up in a bar. My parents owned a bar when I was a kid, and I just like, I don't know. I've never been a huge drinker, but I love that world, and I love fancy drinks and you know, a nice place with like cool music and a good vibe, and like, you know, it's just like the dream. So yeah, that's where the idea came from.
Oh my
That's
God,
so
that's
cool.
fabulous. Yeah, I love it. And I love that your friends just suggesting, you're like, you know what? Yes, you're right. This is great.
You know what's funny though is that none of those friends were in publishing, and they were like, just do this. And I was like, if you were in publishing, you'd understand why that's like such a high, like you can't just tell me do that. It's not going to happen. Like, but because they didn't like have any of the like background about the industry, or they didn't know about comps and they didn't know any of this stuff that I was, you know, worried about,
Oh,
they were
yeah.
like, what's the worst that can happen? They say, no, just do it. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So like, I'm very glad to have friends like that. I suggest every writer have like a group of friends who know nothing about the book world to bully you into doing things that you wouldn't ordinarily try.
Yes. And
I
you're
love
so right.
that.
There's something super magical about the world of cocktails. Like it's kind of its own, like, well, adult Disney magic, you know? Like there's the whole
Yes.
artistry behind it blows my mind. Like seriously.
Yeah, especially like things that they're doing, you know, in cocktail bars these days. Like now it's kind of a little bit played out. I think I saw a commercial for like Carnival Cruises where they're doing like the smoke bubble on cocktails now. So it's like that, I guess you can do that anywhere now. Like it used to be something very, very special and different, but like, you know, like when you get something unexpected or unusual, something you've never had before, perhaps like a polyamorous romance. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to like see how creative people can be with just what is essentially like liquid food, right? Like it's just food in a glass. So I dig it a lot.
Oh, this is so fun. Is there anything you wish like readers knew about this story before they picked it up?
That's a good question. I think what I'd like them to know is whether or not they have any experience with polyamory or non-monogamy. Like this is a book that is trying to tell one story, right? Like I wanted to be really intentional with these characters and what this story was going to be about, where if you weren't familiar with this, then you're kind of like on Mel's side, right? This is all new to her too. So you get to kind of experience it and learn about it together. And you know, maybe there's fears, maybe there's concerns, maybe there's a lot of confusion. And I think she's going to be that character who like holds those people's hands and is like, me too, let's go. And if you do have experience with this, and this is something that you've been like hungry to see, then like hopefully you get to experience a portrayal that is, you know, kind of gentle and kind and not lurid and scandalous and oh, it's so three people, how, oh my good, like it's just like a little bit of extra math. That's all. Like I hope that people know that I'm not trying to make this, even though it is steamy, it's I think probably the steamiest book I've written so far. Just because like statistically it's gotta be, there's just more people to cover, you know. So you gotta have more words, more page count. But like I'm not trying to make it this like exotic thing that, you know, people are going to gawk at. I just wanted to show like three like normal people like who are just trying to figure out a relationship, which is in a lot of ways what every romance is about, right? I mean, except usually it's two, but like but just people trying to figure out, what they want, how to love and be loved. Like that's just, I think, universal. So for people who maybe are like on the fence about dipping their toe in, I would say like, don't worry. It's a fun little romp. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
Well, what do you think the hardest part has been for you on this writing journey?
Over all the books or just this book?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, surprise me.
Ooh, well, I guess the hardest part has been, and this is a little bit of a humble brag, and I don't mean it to be, but the hardest part is having too many ideas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
easy to get an idea that sounds great, right? Like the one sentence pitch. I love throwing out a one sentence pitch at a dinner party and being like, ooh, what if, blah, blah, blah. And then, you have this like fun idea that you're like, oh, I'm going to write that. But what's not easy is like finding the time to actually create, a whole book out of this one sentence idea. So yeah, the hardest part I think is picking and choosing which ideas are going to become the real thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I haven't invested a ton of time into projects that had to be put aside or abandoned. Just one or two times has that happened so far. And like I think that I'm just working on this ability to like realize when an idea just sounds good to me and like in practice not so good. Do you know what I mean?
That's a really valuable skill to learn.
Yeah, still working on it. Still
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah. And that's like 4 books later.
Yeah.
You've been busting your ass because what year is it? It's 2024. Yeah, you've been busy. You've been busy.
I have. Last year was my 2-book year,
Wow.
which was pretty wild. Like to have 2 adult books in the same genre come out in the same year is like a lot. It's a lot of work. Um, I mean, it would be a lot of work no matter what kind of books they were, I guess. But just like, just the, the publicity and all of that stuff too is just like, yeah, it was really wild. This year, I'm like, whew, 1 book, I can do that standing on my head now. I mean, now.
You're a pro. You're a pro.
Thank
You've
you.
got it. Yes, you got it down. Okay, well, I see we have 2 minutes left in our time somehow. But looking back at all you've done, all you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this writing journey?
Ooh, I mean, this is kind of like a like throwaway joke at this point, but like, hey, do you want to know the definition of the word non-binary? This is going to save us a lot of time. Like, but it's not a joke. Like, I really wish, because my work is so connected to what I had to like work through in terms of my identity and my gender and all of that fun stuff, that like I really wish that I could have had that conversation with my younger self, and like maybe, who knows, but maybe that would have gotten me here like in a quicker or I don't know, more smooth way. Maybe I'd be on book 10, who knows, at this, but who could say? There's also the whole like, well, you could have disrupted the time travel streams and a disaster might have unfolded. I could have had too much gender and ruined everything. But I think I would have just told my younger self, because I never was really given much encouragement to pursue writing. I would have been like, hey, actually, like you're pretty good at this. Like, just I still have to tell myself every so often, like, hey, do you remember, like, you're pretty good at this? Like, it's okay to like have that kind of self-confidence in the work, because in the drafting process, especially in the actual like sitting down and writing part of it, it's really easy to think like, oh, I'm the worst at this that's ever written. Look at this sentence I wrote in this first draft. Look at it. It's the worst thing anyone's ever written. But it's like, yeah, that's because it's the first draft. Like, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's what I would tell my younger self, I think.
Hell yes. Hell yes. I love this. It's going to cut us off at any second. So I
Okay.
just want to say thank you for joining us
Thank you
and
for
making us
having
laugh
me.
for like
Aw.
45 straight minutes.
That's what I do. That's the brand.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm here for the brand. I'm here for the laugh.